Hey everybody, this is Larry the Cable Guy. Check this out. So I'm in my truck driving with my buddy, and we was heading up to the men's warehouse to fart in the suits, and he's listening to his phone, and I said, that sounds like Hermie Sadler. He said, it is Hermie Sadler. He's got a podcast called Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I said, Sadler and the Senator? He said, yeah, that's his good buddy, Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley. I said, well, what in the world? He didn't know this. I said, did you know that Hermie Sadler was voted one of the 50 best looking drivers in NASCAR? He said, I did not know that. I said, because it ain't true. You never know, though. He never takes off his helmet. But I know one thing. This show, Leaning Right, Turning Left, is good. So pull up a chair right there by your phone, get yourself a cold beer, and give a listen right here to this week's episode of Leaning Right, Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I'll tell you what, I bet Michael Waltrip's even listening. He's always wanted to do something like that. Oh, Sadler, got another one over on Waltrip. Get her done.
Thank you, Larry the Cable Guy. I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
And I'm former NASCAR driver Hermie Sadler, and I'm turning left. Leaning Right and Turning Left is back again with Sadler and the Senator, Holiday Edition, powered by Pace O Matic.
Hermie Sadler, how are you, sir?
Senator, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you. We're doing this in person. I know. See, this is better. Actually, when we do it in person, there's a couple combinations when we do this podcast that are important for us. I think when we do it in person is one of them because, we're seeing each other, we're talking. You don't have that delay when we're on, what do they call that? Riverside?
Yeah.
And then we act and react better to when we talk to each other. But there's another thing that is always important, though. The salt and pepper to any meal, the spice that makes the meal different. The thing that we have been missing is back. It's kind of like our special guest star, not our fanny pack, our main man, our swear bear. Shep Moss is back. Shep Moss, say hi to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Shep.
Where have you been?
I've been at the North Pole getting ready for Christmas.
Really?
I just can't believe
you're about the size of an elf.
In certain places.
Well, and you're getting small like an elf, too.
I just can't believe I'm actually on a podcast as introduced by Larry the Cable Guy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, isn't that great? Well,
That's awesome.
If you'd listened to it, we've been doing that for a while.
Question. Where
Another
have you been?
one of Hermie's Rolodex contacts.
Where have you
Not
been?
one of mine.
I've been busy. I've had a lot going on.
Really? We're going to have to catch up on all of that, right?
Yep.
I mean, we got to catch up on your great job at Boyd Chevrolet, Dodge, Ford, Jimmy, whatever. I'm sure that's going great. And being a town councilman, I mean, that's going great, right?
No.
What do you mean?
I'm not on town council anymore. You know that.
What?
Oh, it's been that long since I was here.
Yeah. Oh, wow. See, I'm older. I forget things. You mean you quit that?
Wait a minute. I'm getting ready to say.
You quit that?
Make sure y'all understand. Hermie Sadler is not commenting on town council, not going to be commenting on Boyd, and I'm certainly not using any Q words as it relates to Mr. Shep Moss because
Why?
I've been put on notice.
Why? By whom?
By the boss lady in the Moss household.
Who's that?
I better have.
The better half.
Oh, that's right. See, I've forgotten all this stuff. We got to catch everybody up. Of course, if you're joining us for the first time in this podcast, thank you for doing that. Obviously, your friends have told you, hey, if you got 2 hours to kill and got nothing better to do, listen to us. But Shep Moss is a semi-regular here, and we have gone through all of the journey that we've been through, whether it's skill games, our lawsuit, racing team, everything else. But what we've had with us, on and off, mostly on, sometimes off, is our relationship with our best buddy, Shep Moss, who, when he's here, I mean, we get calls, we get emails, we get texts. Why isn't Shep on the show this week?
I agree.
Or Shep said this, or Shep did this, or you guys are being too mean to Shep, or don't say nasty things about Shep quitting on things, or I guess you're not going to be invited to any parties.
We found
at the
out
Moss
that he
household?
single-handedly ruined baseball in the city of town of South Hill.
You've got to go back into our archives, our library.
I mean, Dixie Youth baseball
and Turning Left with Sadler
is just
and
a
Center.
skeleton of what it was 25 years ago.
The strike zone episode
I'm gonna
is a
say
classic
again,
with Shep Moss.
That pitch sounded like a strike. That's all I can say.
And listen, those are some great episodes. Those are the Gaston tapes, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they were
and
great.
So if you're joining us for the first time or you missed over those, go back to the Gaston tapes. We've got one
That
on
and
the porn
plug more.
bill. Plug more. And then we have something totally out of the blue that we never talked about. And that's the best thing about Shep Moss is we just start talking like we're hanging out. And I think that's the best part. And we started talking about umpiring, which I did and you did. And by the time we finished, we figured that there's probably about 300 kids in South Hill area who didn't make it to the pros or didn't go on and get a college scholarship.
300 kids at
because
least
Shep
in
Moss,
our
the
area.
umpire's strike zone with the size.
Their dreams were crushed.
300 kids at least in Southside Virginia that had the talent and the ability to get D1 scholarships, if not be drafted out of high school directly to the major leagues, but did not make it because they step up to the plate and swing like a washwoman. It didn't make no difference where the pitch was, or even if the pitcher threw the pitch, because they knew
Shep Moss, the umpire,
had places to be.
Look,
and any game over 60 minutes was not going to happen with Shep
Moss. If you
it wasn't my fault that Mama wasn't cute.
Shep Moss was behind the plate as an umpire, and he had a strike zone that started at the top of their forehead, right below the hairline, and ended right where the shoes get tied.
Pretty much,
because he had to go, and this game had to be over in 45 minutes.
I had a wedding to get to.
Yeah, and he had to go DJ it. So welcome back, Shep Moss.
Thank you, sir. It's good to be back.
So, I'm 56 now. I'm starting to lose my memory. My short-term memory's, kind of having a bit of an issue. And my long-term memory, obviously, I forgot you're not on South Hill Town Council anymore.
How could you forget?
You out of sight,
remember,
out of mind.
I guess I quit, remember?
Oh,
you quit, remember?
That's right. You quit. And the funny thing is we were talking in a podcast a couple episodes ago about Ghazala Hashmi, the senator, and the challenge that was being made because she had moved into another Senate district to run, and yet she kept her main home, rented an apartment, would go in the front door, her husband would drive around the back, pick her up, and she'd go back to her original house.
Really?
And the judge just recently determined, we talked about that lawsuit, that was residency. But now it's all coming back to me that you were having a problem because you were going to live at Lake Gaston, even though you owned a property
in Brunswick County
in South Hill.
Yeah, it sounds like some of the shit he was trying to tell me to do.
And yet she's a resident, but you weren't. And so you quit the job there, right? But hey, okay.
The election laws removed me from my seat.
Well, it didn't remove Hashmi from her Senate seat.
She apparently had better lawyer representation than I was going to have.
Okay, so at least you're at Lake Gaston now. Town council's behind you. We caught up on all that.
Yep.
So there you are, just running the show.
I can see where this is going. We need to take a left-hand turn.
I know where it's coming right now.
Large and in charge of Boyd. How's that going?
Well, I'm now a free agent.
What do you mean?
I'm no longer employed at Boyd.
What? Hermie, did you know this?
Well, at least you still got memory makers.
No. I quit
that great store.
I quit at Memory Makers too.
What?
I quit that too. That closed in August.
So all right, let me kind of recap here. So you quit town council, the retail store, which gave so many people so much joy, especially during the holidays.
It really did.
Selling so many great things to their wives, made husbands look better during the Christmas season.
Oh yeah.
And
for the last 20 years, I've gone to Memory Makers.
He has
2 or 3 days before Christmas and went and saw his beautiful wife Terry, and I would just say,
"Fix me
up for Angie and my daughters," and she did it every year. And
no more. Gone. Okay, but at least you're at Boyd, where you're selling cars during Christmas, making
not there anymore.
Santa Claus buying himself like a Grand Wagon,
putting the big red bows on the cars in the showroom.
Boom.
The other employees may be doing that, but I'm not.
You quit?
I resigned. Yes, sir.
Well, you know what? Resigned is a 2-syllable word for quit.
Mm-hmm. Just starts with a different letter, right?
Right. An R, not a Q.
Yeah.
Now you can say
Spanish.
Resign.
Well, that's basically what happened at town council.
So is that Latin for quit? Resign.
Resign. Yes. Or it's re-signed if you phrase it a different way.
Well, I'm now a free agent.
Wow.
I can remember texting Hermie.
And this is all happening.
It sounds like
between now and the last time he was here.
family, either one of two things. Either is comfortable and confident with the amount of cash they've got in the bank.
Oh, he's living large.
Ain't got
living on the lake.
Pockets bulging.
And or they've just decided to liquidate or get rid of some responsibilities or stress, which we all know owning small businesses is full of all that. But looking at Shep right now, it doesn't look like he's too stressed out at the moment.
Looks pretty happy.
T-shirt, he's smiling, got his hair looking
Clear
good.
He's lost weight. He's probably been
at 30 pounds.
He's lost 30 pounds.
Ozempic up, right? Like all the stars in Hollywood.
I don't use Ozempic.
What do you use?
Never used Ozempic.
But you're using something like Ozempic. You can't lose that much weight in such a short time.
I'm doing a lot of hard work, Senator.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so he's not using Ozempic. He's looking a lot better. He's tan. He's rested. He's ready. He has cleared off all his obligations, and he
no
finally
memory
made it back
makers,
here.
no Boyd,
no Boyd,
and no town council.
Look.
So wait. Do we still have DJ Jazzy Jeff?
Oh yeah, we're still DJing.
And what's that called again?
Party Time Music.
Party Time USA.
Damn,
music.
you do need some memory.
Out of sight, out of mind, man. We were interviewing new sidekicks and everything. I mean, you just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. But now I understand he was busy. He was busy clearing out the attic of his life.
The day I resigned from Boyd, I texted Hermie, I'm now a free agent. And he said, what does that mean? And I said, I just resigned from Boyd. He said, it sounded just like his daddy. What's going on with you? I said, I'm on the way to Emporia. I'll see you in a few minutes.
Wow. Well, you certainly have had some things going on.
It's been a lot. It's been a very, very...
Was the commute from Lake Gaston in North Carolina, where you live, a little too long to get to Boyd? Dodge?
No.
Challenger? Astronaut? Ford? Whatever it's called.
Is he still sponsoring this podcast?
No, he is not. Obviously, he's not.
Fucking man, who gives a
There you go.
It is at $50.
Okay, so we decided to go in another direction, huh?
Going in a different direction.
So I've never known any of my friends that DJ'd outside of a radio station having enough money to sustain the lifestyle that I know you've grown accustomed to. So, lake house, boats.
Like Alan Joseph-esque.
Yeah, Alan Joseph-esque, tiki bars.
Yeah.
Trips to exotic
Range
places.
Rovers, multiple trips, Myrtle Beach,
all coming back
Virginia Beach, Bahamas.
I just booked Bahamas again last night, actually. In August.
Punta Cana.
Went to Punta Cana.
Oh, and you're booking a Bahamas trip again.
Yeah.
So is Social Security really good? That good?
No, it's just, the black market is taking care of me pretty good right now.
The black market. You open up a vape or a pot shop?
Not yet. Well, I was running skill games, but they got cut off.
Oh, there you go.
Thanks.
Hey, it wasn't our fault. That was Hermie's fault.
Oh, it's his fault.
I mean, what does Shep do? I mean, there can't be a wedding every weekend.
So for the last 2.5 days, I'm in the middle of remodeling a double wide for a client. So I've been up to my asshole and elbows into rotten wood and flooring.
We're trying to get, may have some younger people listening to the show. Y'all need to watch the language.
Well, they'll like the beats.
I'm sorry.
That's why we beat.
So wait a minute, you've got clients now. You're doing what? Home remodel?
My wife, a year and a half ago, actually, started talking about that she wanted to get out of memory makers and do something on the lake. Some type of business on the lake. Well, some type of business.
Oh.
Real estate's been really hot. She looked at that. Wasn't really her gig. So she came up with a business venture called MAID, M-A-I-D, in Muscle. She's the maid and I'm the muscle. To do like a concierge service on the lake to get your lake home ready.
Why do I call it clean and jerk?
Like a clean jerk?
Clean and jerk, what they do in the weightlifting.
Yeah.
All right.
It's made in muscle. Well. So
made in muscle.
We have started that. That's really her deal. I'm on support her and stand by as best I can. But now
you're the one that's putting the floor down and it's a double.
Right.
Okay.
She's collecting the money and I'm crawling around on my hands and knees right now.
So what does the muscle part do? The maid is pretty obvious. What does the muscle part do?
Well, I guess
now he's
putting down floor. Yeah. Whatever it takes.
Okay. So
whatever it takes.
You advertising?
We just did Saturday night. We launched this last Saturday night. It has not been a week yet.
Now, as your lawyer, you got to have, if you're going to do certain remodels up to a certain level, you got to have a Class C contractor.
Yes, you do. At least a Class C.
Right. If you want to do building houses, you go to Class A. You got Class C, Class B, and Class A.
So you're going to have to litigate all of that when it gets to it.
Wait a minute.
You're a litigator. You can litigate.
Wait a minute. You were
That's what
afraid
you
to
told me.
afraid to continue your job on the town council because of the violation of the law. But you're telling me right now, when it comes, it comes.
I'm not doing anything at this point that would require a Class C.
Okay.
Brunswick County doesn't even have a business license requirement in the county. So right now I am just doing jobs that I can do legally at my current status.
Okay. So why don't you give a plug to your new business for all those people at Lake Gaston who listen to this podcast? And I know there's at least 6. What's your business?
It's on Facebook.
Oh, well, there you go.
Made, MAID, the and sign muscle on LKG.
The and sign.
The and sign. Made and muscle on LKG. And I'll tell you this. We did an announcement Saturday night. My wife is so good at marketing. She's a whole lot better than I am. 38,430 people reached, 363 shares on our post. So we're very humbled by the support of our friends and family and neighbors and surrounding area that have helped us promote this so far.
Okay. So when the
She's a marketing guru.
when the full, that's the muscle.
That would be the muscle. Yep. You've never experienced that before, have you?
Only once.
Yeah, it wasn't fun, was it?
But you weren't helping. You were making a.
I
big
think
deal
Hermie
out.
saved your ass that day.
That was at camping at
North Wilkesboro.
North Wilkesboro. Yes, when my camping shitter got full. That's why I traded in. Haven't had a problem since. But okay, well, welcome to your new business. How long is that going to last?
Well, till I quit, I reckon.
Resign.
Yeah.
Resign.
Yeah, resign.
All right. So
Or she fires me.
So
right now I'm DJing. I've got a party this Saturday night for our very brave local fire department there in South Hill, which, by the way, almost had a horrific weekend on the interstate. We had another fire apparatus get hit at a vehicle fire parked on the interstate by a drunk driver on a suspended license in a stolen vehicle. So, South Hill Fire Department really...
It wasn't him.
South Hill has
I know what you're
really
thinking.
pioneered...
Don't say his name.
vehicle owned by Sadler Brothers? All right.
Don't say his name.
Well, no, the guys with the cigarettes and the remember when your car got stolen out of the lot of the
that
dealership?
ain't what I was thinking about.
Oh,
So look, the local fire department there in South Hill has been a pioneer of the move over movement for emergency vehicles, not only in the state of Virginia, but all across the country. TV6 just came down, did a whole story on this. They've got a total lost fire pickup truck on display on a trailer that they take around. This is 4 fire trucks in less than 12 months that has been hit on Interstate 85 by really reckless and unattentive drivers. And our local fire department, again, has really been a pioneer of the move over. So maybe that could be some legislation that you could consider dropping with some stiffer penalties and that type of stuff.
I mean, now, so we started out, if you've got the red lights on or the blue lights on, you're supposed to pull from the right-hand lane to the left-hand lane. Pull over, of course, if they're behind you. But if you're traveling on the interstate and they're on the right-hand shoulder, they pulled over somebody, you're supposed to get into the left-hand lane so long as you can, so long as it's safe to do so. We've now expanded that in the Commonwealth of Virginia now that if anyone with the yellow lights on, so whether that's VDOT, but it could be a tow truck or anything else, or even the hazards on a personal vehicle, you're supposed to get over in the lane, on the left-hand lane, and you can be prosecuted if you don't do that. I actually had a lady coming up from South Carolina moving. She was a nurse practitioner going into Harrisonburg, and she was coming up through Franklin County, and there was a cop over on the right-hand side and yellow lights or whatever. And she did not, because she had a trailer, she was pulling all her stuff, moving into Harrisonburg. And so she didn't go over, and she got busted and berated because she didn't pull over. Well, she didn't know what the law was. And
because she's not a resident.
Right. And she safely couldn't move to the left-hand lane only because, she's driving a trailer, and that's, for her, that, felt a little dangerous to try to do so quickly. And I had to represent her and get that case dismissed. Of course, I won it.
Bullshit litigation went on there.
But again, I mean, we're really, I understand if cops are over there on the right-hand side. I understand if the fire truck's over there on the right-hand side. But if a yellow flashing tow truck's there, You know,
I didn't know ignorance of the law was a good defense.
it's not, but this is an ignorant law in my mind. I mean, I understand getting over for fire and police, but
Right.
getting over for a wrecker, getting over for, there's so many people that have yellow flashing lights on their trucks and they just pull off the road. And now you could commit a crime, a traffic offense if you don't move over into the left-hand lane. And it's not like when we pass these laws in the General Assembly, we tell everybody about them. We just expect you to know.
Most of them are just hid in the budget.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe one in particular.
Well, maybe you need to consider some stiffer penalties.
Well, it's like
If it's a fire
it's like
or
making
EMS
a stiffer
or
penalty for
emergency
littering.
vehicle.
I mean, is that going to deter conduct? Do you think the person that doesn't pull over is thinking, "Oh, that's a $750 fine instead of a $500
Right.
fine"? No, I mean, we always want our first responders to be safe. People use their judgments, and that drunk driver's going to plow through those, fire trucks because they're drunk, not because they're like, I need to move over to the left-hand lane, and I can't because I'm drunk. It's the same as a gun-free zone sticker on the outside of the ABC store.
Right.
That's going to
Doesn't
keep
work.
a robber who's going to walk in and go, yeah, I'm going to rob this store with this 45 I have in my hand. And they look at it, it's a gun-free zone. I need to take my gun back to the car.
Well, I know, like my son is a firefighter. I know Hermie's got personal friends in Emporia and all through Southside Virginia that are firefighters. Your son, Colin, is a
Cora's
paramedic.
husband Cameron and
That's right.
Naomi's boyfriend Corey are both
Both on the fire department.
firefighters in Emporia. Yeah.
We know what it's like when that whistle goes and that siren is blowing. We get this pit in our stomach now, worried about them. So pull over, get over, and then slow down and pull over when you see a fire truck or police or EMS on the side of the road. Pull over and get out of their way. Try not to kill anybody.
This public service announcement brought to you by Boyd. Not Boyd Chevrolet. Brought to you by Party Time USA.
That's right.
DJ.
Yeah, party time.
Very good. So
Not
guys,
memory makers?
not memory makers. South Hilltown. No, can't do that either. So, gentlemen, what's been going on? What's been happening here?
Did we just talk about all that?
No, I understand. We got you. What's going on with you, Herm? How's everything going?
Doing all right. We had a good Thanksgiving. We're getting ready for Christmas, and this time of year, as I've told you a couple times that we've talked, I try to make it a personal crusade to try to go in person, make in-person visits with as many of our customers as I can. Those being loggers and farmers, and even families that buy home heat and things from us. So about the last week, I've been traveling all around, mostly Virginia, but some over into North Carolina area, visiting all of our customers. And then, we're looking at all of our different aspects of our business and trying to make adjustments and changes and plans and trying to get ready for 2024, which we forecast for not only the petroleum industry and things that we're facing, but a lot of small businesses across the board. It looks to be shaping up to be somewhat of a challenging year with, eventually we keep talking about it, but this rubber band is going to snap at some point, and people are slowly getting further and further behind with things. And we have a lot of concerns. And so we're trying to prepare our business as best we can moving into 2024, position ourselves to be successful while at the same time continuing to go see and communicate and let our current customers that we have know how much we appreciate them. And
You do that every year, don't you?
every year, yeah.
Hermie, let me ask you this. For retail, it was Amazon. Okay, so use that comparison. What in your industry, say in the last 5 years, what has been the biggest change or challenge that you have faced in your industry? Again, when we were in retail, it was fighting Amazon and mail order. What have you been through?
Two things in the petroleum industry and really nothing we can do about either one of them. One has been, there have been times when getting product was allocation was a thing, mostly related to Joe Biden's assault on the fossil fuel industry, which I view as self-inflicted wounds for many people that are affected by that in the United States, and national security and otherwise, that affects people that are not even related directly to the industry. So that's a problem, has been a problem. And the other part is labor costs.
Labor costs.
Because, you got people in 2024 that, we're trying to find the next generation of maintenance people, HVAC people to work on fuel pumps, truck drivers, accountants, cashiers. And it's just not as many people in the market. I don't know what the people on TV are talking about, when they say, well, things are getting a little bit better, with maybe underemployment, but it's a lot of drama and issues and things that we're facing.
I was watching.
The government is trying to, in more ways than one, mandate what people get paid. And I've always, how many times on this podcast have we talked about the free market? System. You make what you're worth, or you take an opportunity and earn what you deserve off an opportunity. And it is a real problem for businesses like ours. And I'm sure, I've had some conversation with Bill in his law office. I mean, it's people come out of college and think they got a law school, and like they want to go right to the top and think they deserve what a 20 plus year, successful trial attorney is making. So there are problems like that. So you have to navigate, and you have to know when to pull the trigger, and you have to know when to say no, and all those things are very, very difficult.
Well, I was listening to Fox News this morning, and they were talking about election year getting ready to come up, and they predicted that the Biden administration was going to force the oil price to crude price to come down, during the election year. And they were predicting that the Fed was going to cut interest rates. I think they said 6 times maybe during 2024, and that inflation had come down maybe 6% already. But I don't see inflation coming down at all in my household at my dinner table. And I have noticed gas has come down.
The reality is inflation, the people, depending on what TV station you watch, they want to view as inflation increasing at a smaller or a slower pace
than it had.
They want to package it as inflation is coming down.
Right.
It's not. It's just increasing at a slower rate than it was. I mean, so, if I gained, and talking about weight, if I gained 20 pounds in 2022 and I gained 10 pounds in 2023, does that mean I'm thinner?
Right.
Then it's just, and people are so gullible,
to believe that.
They believe all that. And it's just the way they word and package things. But it is concerning and disappointing to the things you just said. The government and Joe Biden's administration is basically saying, we manipulated things to get these costs and things up because we want the middle and lower class to be dependent on people like us. But guess what? Next year, because we got an election coming up, we're going to turn the wick back down and try to help you people out. If that doesn't piss people off about elections and the economy and politics, I don't know what will.
So what do you see happening with fuel prices? Or do you think that prediction may be true? That they may try to bring it down? Because it's coming down now.
You have to wonder. I mean, I know some of it's politics and elections and all that, but they are really squeezing out a lot of people in the blue collar industries in Virginia and in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the loggers and the farmers and people like this. But the people that I deal with, the farmers and the loggers and, these people that
just everyday working people,
they're just nickel and diming and expensing these people out of business.
Yeah.
And then you do labor. We talked about that. I mean, you talked about, which I think you'll do very well, this new business venture that you and Terry are getting ready to embark on. There's so many variables. How do you, if you, in your business, you probably won't have a job that'll take 6 months.
Right.
That'll be fortunate. But how do you price somebody a job on something and say it's going, your materials are going to be, $5,000 for these materials, and then you go back 2 weeks later to the store and your materials are $6,000.
Yeah, you can't do it.
What do you do? and so same way with construction companies, jobs. I mean, you got somebody that a road crew's building a road or doing something for it, and you figure fuel is X amount per gallon. Then I know it should over a long period of time average out, but in the short term, a lot of these people are going out of business.
It'll put you out of business
in a hurry, and you don't have to do anything wrong.
Well, look, you got a phone call tonight as we were pulling in, and I wasn't listening, but I could hear the guy talking through the phone. He's buying fuel.
Yeah.
And he says, look, the price may change tomorrow, and if it does, I know you. Now, I'm ordering it today.
Yeah.
I'm committing to it today.
Yeah, I'm gonna but if it goes up, you eat it.
Yeah, if it goes up, it's his price. If it goes down, though, I know you're going to take care of me. And you said, well, always have.
Yeah.
But that's not really, I mean, that's almost not how the real world works.
It's not. But you know what? I mean, my dad says all the time. You have to do that
for relationships.
Yeah. My dad says all the time, for us, he says all the time, we're in a penny game.
Yep.
Pennies, pennies matter. They add up. Same thing with a logger or a farmer. The guy I was talking to was a farmer. And this guy that I was talking to is more fortunate than most because he's got huge storage tanks, this particular farmer. It didn't come from what he's done in the last 5 years. It came from what he did 15, 20 years ago. So he was able to buy and has probably 10,000 gallons worth of storage.
Wow.
So he's watching the market, the crude market, saying fuel is more affordable now than it has been in 6 months. He ordered a 4,500 gallon short truck delivery truck load of fuel. He said, let me go ahead and get 4,500 gallons, even though he's finished farming for right now, because next spring, typically prices go the other way. Now, if by what you're saying, he's playing the market.
And look, a penny a gallon on that quantity is $450.
Sure it is.
10,000 gallons, that's $1,000.
Sure it is. But my point is, a lot of people I deal with don't have the storage for that and don't have the cash flow
to do it.
They can't just, they can't just charge 12, 15 grand, worth of fuel on
They were
on
also
one phone
talking
call.
this morning about how many people the credit card debt is finally catching up with the American people through the pandemic and all of this free money. And now they were calling it reverse repo. Now, maybe one of y'all can explain that to me. I've never heard that term, but they were calling it reverse repos are catching up in the credit card debt. And people are still living large. They're still spending money. They're still buying, although they were questioning how they thought the retail numbers were going to be for the fourth quarter, that they may be down. But in general, people are still traveling and vacationing and spending money. It's just going to be real interesting to see how things shake out in 2024.
So market pressures during the pandemic had people actually saving money. They were sitting at home. They weren't spending money. So they were saving money, paying down debt, or they had lower credit card debt. Because of the inflation levels, they've been spending down on savings and increasing debt. And they've been spending money on their credit cards. Because think about it this way. I think one of the reports has a family of four, it cost almost $11,000 more to live in Biden economy than it did in Trump economy.
For a year.
That's because of inflation. I mean, the cost of goods, I was driving by one of these stores out here that advertises what the price of meat was. $18 per pound for filet mignon. Well, I remember not too long ago, it was $9 a pound. I mean, you're talking double food costs in the eggs and milk and the essentials. And then on the stuff that is more discretionary spending, the prices have gone up. So people are buying less in discretionary spending of the discretionary stuff like cars, houses. People are not buying houses anymore. Now we're finally seeing a downturn in the housing market. People can't afford not only just the price of the house. Remember, it exploded during the pandemic. Houses were going up. Prices were going up. People were buying houses. People had more liquidity. Interest rates were low. Now interest rates are high. So now you're almost paying near to double per month on a mortgage than you were during Donald Trump when he was president under Bidenomics. And so it's kind of a reverse, and it's been really, quick in doing so. Biden claims, look at me, we added 117,000 more jobs, but all of that's just the recovery from the loss of jobs in the pandemic, not that they're creating new jobs in the economy. But as those jobs are coming back, the wages may be higher, but the buying power is less. because now the
double whammy.
costs are.
Hey, Haley.
I went to buy cars for my family. Well, I went to buy for myself and ended up buying for my family. Cars that were $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 are $80,000. Trucks are like $80,000. It's ridiculous. You're pricing the middle class out of the marketplace. So that's going to hurt your car companies. That's going to hurt, you've got to buy the essentials and groceries, but in the housing market's going to turn. We're about to see a real recession here. That raising interest rates did not tame inflation. And the inflation was caused by the government because the government was printing money and spending money, billions and billions, $1 trillion to try to pump into the economy. It devalued the dollar. So now people have less buying power. People have more credit card debt and people have really a glum outlook on the economy. So they're just paying the minimums to get by on that credit card debt they've incurred. They're not having any differences in saving because that $11,000 per year is not going into their savings accounts or their checking accounts. It's going just to live. And so that's the reversed repo you're talking about.
Take Haley, my middle daughter, who most everybody listening to this knows is special needs, but she has a consistent, to the penny, to the point shopping list of what she wants when we go to the grocery store. It's 3 bags of salt and vinegar potato chips, blue, 3 bags of the Lay's, 3 bags of the green chips, which are Utz, and then Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and it's a list, waters and things for her. And
it's always the same.
It's always the same. It used to be like clockwork. A year and a half ago, we could go in Food Lion. It was $83. We went Sunday, very same menu, $137.
$50 more.
Just for her list of stuff. Same location, same amount, same products, same store. So, over the course of time, it's
just adds up.
It's a lot. So what are we going to talk about today? We've given Shep grief for
a multitude of things.
So what are we going to talk about next?
Well, number one, we're sitting here on a Wednesday night. We're going to go out to dinner, get the gang back together. But here on TV right now, the House of Representatives have just voted to start an impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden. The resolution has just passed. We're now going to start again another impeachment inquiry. That would be 3 in 2 presidencies. We've started down a path. Now, the final vote was 221 to 217 or something. It was close, but split along party lines. Here we go again.
Yeah.
Here we go again with another impeachment inquiry and perhaps an impeachment of a president. Now, I would say this one's got a lot more teeth to it than the one against Trump. They did it twice. But look at where our country's going right now. I mean, we've just talked about the economy. We talked about the costs of goods going up. Hope is going down. We're entering into the Christmas season. We've got, quite frankly, the Biden family mafia, which has profited off of government, now being held accountable. You got Hunter Biden declining to appear before the House committee and getting a contempt charge based on that, to talk about his criminal behavior, potential criminal behavior. He's been indicted now on 9 charges. I mean, the United States kind of is in this horrible position that has been from 2016 to 2020 and now from 2020 to 2023 going into 2024. Man, I'm worried about this place.
And look what's going on in Israel. Look how the narrative is changing coming from our government that Netanyahu. And well, I knew I wasn't going to say it right.
Say it with me. Try it again.
BB. But look at the narrative that's coming out that now, the discretionary bombing and you've got to change your tactics and we may be pulling away from you. And I mean, that's our closest ally in the world.
And in last week's episode, we talked about the presidents of these universities, high-end universities, being pro-Palestinian and being against free speech. If you use the wrong pronoun, you could be subject to discipline if you're a student. But now, if you say, exterminate all the Jews, well, it's context. It's free speech. We have turned the world and what is right and what is wrong on its head. Black is white, white is black, up is down. I mean, we've done ourselves a disservice to this great nation that our founding fathers built, but now can't talk about them because they were slaveholders. And then the people that fought for them, fought for the preservation of this great nation, are men and women who wore the cloth and fought the wars for us. Can't talk about them now because they're the oppressor, and we're the oppressor and the oppressed. We have divided ourselves so much, and I just think it's an intentional thing, especially with liberals, especially with the world. Liberals, I see Queers for Palestine. Dude, you with the poster, if you go to Palestine, they'd throw you off the top of a damn building. I mean, what is going on?
They would
around
take 3
here?
days to draw a crowd.
Would you have ever thought 10 years ago that this would be something that we'd even be talking about on this podcast?
Nope.
Never. And yet, it just feels like we're on the brink of something, and something very concerning for the future of our country, for our freedoms and liberties, that is so much bigger because it seems like the world has infiltrated freedom and liberty, and all they want to do is do us harm. That concerns me. And the way they do it is they deconstruct our economy. The way they do it is they indoctrinate our children and create universities that are not epicenters of freedom of thought and innovation, but now are subject to a dogma and a political bent that says you white people are not worthy. You are the oppressed. You are the oppressor. I mean, classifying ourselves in ways that we never classified ourselves before. Trying to teach our kids things that are not age appropriate. Trying to make things that we as a society said are absolutely wrong almost excusable. That guy killed somebody because he had a bad childhood. We should teach children 5 to 8 sexuality so they can figure out their pronouns. Something we never would have thought about. I mean, we could go on and on and on about what we find here that is so disagreeable. But it's not the country we knew, and certainly not our neighbors we knew throughout the United States. We've had this kind of, we are accused of colonization, but at the same time, this transactional internationalism coming into our country where we let anybody into our country and they don't have to be the melting pot anymore. They don't have to be something to adhere to our values. They can create their own mini countries within ours. And now we are sitting here, even with the Israeli war against Gaza and Hamas. We have people in our country that are calling for the elimination of Jews. Something we fought the Nazis because
to protect,
one of the reasons. And now we're having people in the United States that excuse it and say, well, that's fine because they're the oppressor and the Gaza citizens, the Palestinians are the oppressed. We're having now what should be crystal clear is now in a gray area. And if you dare speak out against it, then you're the oppressor and they're the oppressed. And it seems like that they're trying to do us in, that they want the end of this country. And they're doing it in a way that just doesn't make sense. So I think we have to, as a nation, as a human population that lives and breathes freedom and liberty, we've got to preserve what we got left. We got people pouring over the border, 15,000 people or more a day who are coming from Africa, Asia, Middle East, the South America. Grown men who should be staying in their country and building their country, coming over here and taxing our system to the point where they're going to help its economic collapse because they're depending on the government to pay for things. And the government wants them to have voting rights so they can vote Democrat and then collapse the system entirely. I am just beyond scared for my children right now, but I'm also beyond pissed and I want to fight. And when I say I want to fight, I want to stop this nonsense. Biden has crushed us in 3 years. We've got so many things that we've got to clear up. This election, I'm afraid, might result in a complete tearing apart of the nation rather than bringing us together. Because what we've allowed is mob rule, the minority.
Remember Biden talking when he was running
the leaders
so much about how he was going to unite.
He was going to be a uniter.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, Trump, the way he acts in some people's eyes, the way he communicates, that was a narrative that the Biden administration could use, but it has certainly turned out to be anything but a uniting term so far.
Your pick on this podcast several months ago, you picked maybe Nikki Haley. Could maybe do it.
I did, yeah.
And she just received New Hampshire's governor just endorsed her. And of course,
But Trump is getting stronger in the polls. And you know what? I think even in the African-American community and the minority community, they see him being oppressed, prosecuted by the government. Here we have the opposition being prosecuted by those in power. And I think it resonates with a lot of people that suffer from stuff like that. But you've gotten a complete fissure. Things that never would happen in America are happening. You know, the leading candidate for the nomination, the Republican nomination, has what? 4 different trials?
Yeah. Well, the one
before he's elected or before he becomes the nominee?
The one thing that's going to help Trump,
this is a third world country we're living in now, man. This is the United States of America.
One thing that I think is going to help Trump is what Hermie just talked about, going to the grocery store with Haley. You know, Trump's going to say, put me back in office and your grocery bill is going back down to $83. Don't put me in and it's going to stay 157 or go higher. And, you know, that resonates with all people.
But do you see how Trump is actually leading in all the swing states?
And he's
not by a little bit.
And he's not even really politicking right now.
He's not. You don't see him. But Biden is that bad. So what I think, you know, and my feeling is, and I'll try to be as succinct as possible, the Democrats are kind of leading you in a trap. Things are bad. They know it. I don't think Biden's going to be their candidate.
I don't either.
I think they're going to dirty up Trump as much as they possibly can, right close to when the election really matters. Biden's out. They got a new person in. Here's our fix. And they still keep Trump as dirty. That person gets a bump a lot higher in terms of an approval rating than Biden does. We're fixing the problems. And they continue the same open border problem, same high inflation problem, same Marxist beliefs and solutions for our problems, and same divisiveness, same diversity, equity, and inclusion, forced, critical race theory, all this stuff, forced indoctrination of our children. They'll continue their same process. It's not like they're going to get wiser. I mean, look at the president of MIT and UPenn and Harvard. UPenn's president, after saying that stupid crap that we had on last week's show, that it depends on the context. If someone says they call for the elimination of Jews on their campus, well, depends on the context and maybe the conduct. So they have to actually try to eliminate Jews. Then we'd kick them out. Well, now they sacrificed the lamb. The UPenn president is gone, but not really gone, just not president, still a professor, tenured, making a lot of money. And they're going to replace him with the same stupid people anyway. It's not like they learned their lesson. And then Harvard just hangs on and says, we're not getting rid of President Gay. They've not learned their lesson, and they just hope this all goes away. And then they can go back to indoctrinating their students, making their campuses a political hotbed rather than a hotbed for freedom and free expression and learning and innovation. Man, I mean, they're not learning their lesson. It's just, when is America going to wake up? When are the rest of us going to say this is enough? And what are they going to do when Trump is the nominee and they're prosecuting him, trying to put him in jail? Is that going to really create a battleground where the lines are drawn and we're going to have conflicts that we've never seen before internally here in the United States to resolve? What are we as a nation? Who are we as a people? And where do we go from here? That's what concerns me.
Well, let me ask you this, because you mentioned, and I agree, I don't think Biden is going to be the nominee. Well, I think it's a good chance that he won't be for the Democratic Party. But what did you think of the...
He keeps tanking. He's like at 36% approval rating.
What did you think of the debate the other week when they had Gavin Newsom against DeSantis on Fox?
Crushed him.
Well, I understand, but I thought it was a little intriguing. They haven't sent Biden out on the campaign trail. They haven't sent him out to debate anybody. Why Newsom? To me, that's another indicator, another red flag that the Democratic Party knows that it's going to be really hard to put him up against anybody at this point.
His record
just on
horrendous
performance
in California. I mean, I've got Republicans that have filed bills here in the General Assembly. We're stuck to the RGGI, the RGGI, which is the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which California leads. So they determine the standards. They make us be all electric. Any car sold in 2035 in Virginia has to be electric. So you won't be able to buy a gas-powered vehicle in Virginia if California has its way under the RGGI program. Our governor said we're not following RGGI anymore. We put in bills that say we're going to abandon the RGGI program. It's not feasible. I mean, they've turned climate change into this huge damn thing, which is going to crush our economy, cause brownouts, stifle economic growth. At the same time, when China's building new gas-powered and coal-fired power plants, and India and those other areas, they're going to keep building them, and we're going to try to get that degree of our temperature on the Earth's on the planet Earth down by a micron. We're just going to kill ourselves. Well, so we're saying, look, we can't do Reggie. Reggie's not possible. It's not feasible. Well, you know what? We put a bill in, and I have all these Democrats tell me, yeah, man, that Reggie we can't do it. You think they're going to vote against it? No, they're going to kill it. You think they're going to vote for it? No, they're going to kill it. And so ultimately, we're going to be still stuck with, and especially if we allow a Democrat governor after this in 2 years, we're going to be stuck and bootstrapped to California. That guy is a disaster. California is a disaster. They've lost, 1 million people out migration to Florida and other areas.
Industries.
And I think Ron DeSantis just wiped the floor up with him. I mean, Ron DeSantis even made the point where he said, yeah, I was talking to a guy who moved from California, and he was saying how the taxes are lower here, and it's crazy over there in California, and they're defecating in the streets. And it turned out it was Gavin Newsom's father-in-law, who was the father of his wife, who's saying, even I can't live in California. And why are we following California? It's the den of iniquity. It's Satan's workshop, and Virginia's going to become California. Good luck with that.
Bill, you mentioned just now a big governor race coming up here in 2 years in Virginia that, based on this last election, will even have more consequence to the Commonwealth of Virginia. And without spilling the beans, I do know one of the reasons that you're currently in Richmond is you have some meetings coming up in the next couple of days with members of the executive branch,
correct,
things of that nature.
Yep.
But I did read today, talking about our current governor, Governor Glenn Youngkin, that there was an announcement coming out of his office that he had helped negotiate and broker a deal to potentially bring the Washington Wizards of the NBA and the Washington Capitals of the NHL out of the District of Columbia and into Virginia, in Northern Virginia. So I may be throwing that at you without any preparation or any much knowledge of it, but I just read that briefly on the news wire today, and if so, that is a tremendous job by Glenn Youngkin and his administration. But that process, and you may want to explain some of that, will have to come through the General Assembly here in Virginia, correct?
And so members of leadership were given some heads up that this was in the works. We had a code name. We were given information about it. We were embargoed on what we could say and not say until today's meeting. Basically, Herm, what you're talking about is Governor Youngkin's office has made a deal with the Wizards, Caps, Mystics, which is the WNBA team, Ted Leonsis. Those teams are housed currently in Chinatown in downtown D.C., have been there in D.C. since moving from actually Maryland at the Cap Center since 1997. But according to Leonsis, he was paying $13, $14, $15 million more than he should have been paying in rent and maintenance on top of that. And so Governor Youngkin, the businessman, has struck a deal with the owner, Ted Leonsis, of the Washington Wizards NBA basketball team, the Washington Capitals hockey team, for $2 billion to bring those teams to a new arena in what's called Potomac Yards. And I'll tell you, there's a reason why that's interesting and ironic, is that many years ago when I was a younger man, Jack Kent Cooke, you remember him? He was the owner of the Washington Redskins. He struck a deal with Virginia's Doug Wilder, the governor at the time, to bring the football stadium from RFK to Potomac Yards. It's like 60 acres sitting over there in Arlington, Alexandria area, just across the river. And they were going to build a football stadium. And the mayor of Alexandria at the time basically was able to beat Doug Wilder and Jack Kent Cooke. And so that old Potomac Yard is an old rail yard that's not been used, not been developed. So it's probably the biggest undeveloped piece of real estate in Northern Virginia. And so obviously the governor's office has been working on something like this. And so they're going to then build a $2 billion mixed-use complex. So it's going to be there for concerts, hockey games, basketball games, but also, other things and development around it. And so he has struck at least an initial deal with Ted Leonsis to bring those Washington teams across the Potomac River and put them at the Potomac Rail Yard. And so everybody thinks, ooh, that's a done deal. I'm going to tell you, since Doug Wilder's failure in bringing a football stadium to Potomac Yard, last year, Dick Saslaw, who we talked about last week, retiring Democrat from Fairfax, had a deal to bring the Washington Redskins into Fairfax, Prince William County.
Commanders.
Area. Redskins.
According to George Allen, the woke commodes.
I'm sorry. They're still the Washington Redskins to me. I mean, that's what I grew up with, and I don't care if that offends anybody. I'm sorry. But ultimately, they had a deal to try to bring that team, that NFL football team, across the Potomac into Fairfax, Prince William County with a multi-use, mixed-use development. And I think my recollection was it was in excess of $2 billion. I mean, and it would have shops and it would have this big stadium.
Is that going to be the same place?
Great. No, this was going to be out west. And so we had to then consider legislation from Dick Saslaw, and I think maybe Barry Knight, your friend, your buddy, that would have allowed for tax breaks.
Bill, I love you to death. But you're going to cause me to come unbenefited with you and punch you right in the face.
Sorry, I've mentioned the wrong people. But look, that deal would have allowed Virginia, would have allowed the owner of the Redskins, I'm sure you're going to get to this, the owners of the Redskins, the ownership has changed hands. Correct.
So that may make a difference.
And that may, but let me tell you what happened to that bill. That bill stalled because it was a government subsidy program where we were basically giving the owner of the Redskins hundreds of millions of dollars in tax breaks and government funds, taxpayer funds, to build this stadium, and would have profited off of it. And we would have been, the ones who would have had the stadium, but we'd be footing a lot of the bill for it. That's what unfortunately is happening in a lot of areas where you're seeing these new stadiums going up. The cities and the counties or wherever they are locating are picking up most of the tab. It's like billionaire subsidies. So when we really dug down into that bill, and at first it started very partisan because we're all like, oh yeah, who wouldn't want to bring the Washington Redskins to Virginia? But Virginia's problem has always been that Virginia doesn't have a sports team. We're a big state. We're a very populated state. Look at North Carolina. They got the Panthers. They got the Canes. They got the, what do you call it? The Hurricanes. They've got pro basketball, professional hockey, professional football. They even got a professional soccer team. Virginia has none of that. Norfolk, Virginia Beach has been trying to build a stadium that would bring an NBA team there. That's failed because, again, they're putting the cost. All the teams want to put the cost on the area and the taxpayers rather than actually coming in. They're all billionaires. They should contribute. They contribute some, but we end up paying a lot of it. So when the football stadium was proposed by the former Redskins owner, that bill was put through the Senate and the House, and it failed. We did not pass it because when you looked closely at it, it was a boondoggle. It was a benefit for Dan Snyder. It was not a benefit for Virginia. It was a benefit for Northern Virginia, but it was not a benefit for all of Virginia. And all of Virginia would be paying for it so that the people in Loudoun County wouldn't have to drive to Maryland to watch their football
Virginia team. Legislators, typically Democrats, look at things anyway.
Oh, they look at spending your money as best they can.
Yeah, right.
They do a great job at it. But again, what's the benefit to Craig County or Wise County or Franklin County? Not much. But it would help these guys from not having to drive 2.5 hours around the Beltway to go to Landover, Maryland to watch their football team, where the football team, the Redskins, the Commanders are now. So, matter of convenience, we pick up the tab, the taxpayer pays for it. I think a little benefit. If you're giving tax breaks, you're not getting tax dollars. You're hoping that other third parties come in and spend their money there and generate some tax revenue. But how does that ever offset the billions of dollars that you put into the deal? This is a little smaller because it's not a big football stadium. They were going to build a football stadium the size of the one that was in the Cowboys, in Irving, Texas, that area paid so much money for. This is $2 billion. It's a multi-use venue. It's in a place that is undeveloped. Here we go again. But my problem is initially is that if Ted Leonsis, the owner of the Wizards, the Mystics, and the Capitals, after Poland owned it, Abe Poland was the owner before him. Ted Leonsis is one of the founders of AOL. He's one of the guys with Case that founded AOL right there in Vienna, Virginia, billionaire. He bought the team from Poland, Abe Poland. And so the team has grown. But in 1997, they built in Chinatown a multi-use facility. The Caps, basically to replace the Cap Center, which was in Landover, Maryland. Obviously, they've either outgrown it or they don't like it. But what he really doesn't like is that the District of Columbia is charging him millions and millions of dollars. And the problem is the area around Chinatown that was supposed to get better has gotten worse. There's crime. There's carjackings. I mean, you've got congressmen and their staff, congressmen and women and their staff getting carjacked. DC is a mess because of the woke, defund the police, everybody gets bail kind of criminality has just grown there.
Like
Drugs have grown there.
Baltimore.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, I have friends that live up there and say you cannot be out there after dark unless you want to get carjacked or mugged. So obviously they want to move to safer spaces. They want to get more things. The problem for the Commonwealth of Virginia is going to be in this 2024 General Assembly session is they're going to come to us and go, we want you to fund it. We want a tax break. We want you to give us the land. I think Virginia owns the land. We want you basically to pay for it. And it's not the Commonwealth of Virginia government to pay for it. They want you, Hermie, you, Shep, you, Bill Stanley, you, the person that's listening to us right now. They want you, if you're in Virginia, to pay the bill to make it more convenient for them so they can make more money so his rent is less. And so this seems really exciting because, you know, who wouldn't want a team? Virginia wants a professional sports team. We deserve it. But at what cost? And to make a billionaire happy? To give us a little, you know, notch in our belt that we brought the team from DC? At what cost to the taxpayer? So we're going to have a real vigorous debate. And I think it's just started. It sounds really great. Woohoo, light the candles. Let's go out and have a beer and celebrate. But when you get down to the brass tacks, when we'll see a piece of legislation, there'll probably be a bill with 15, 20 pages, and you see what we're paying for it, it may not be what it should be for Virginia. The juice may not be worth the squeeze on this one. So stay tuned.
Skill Games could have gone a long ways to funding that too.
I don't even think Skill Games could pay for $2 billion.
Over time, but look, let me ask you this.
But here's the bigger thing. Don't you think Ted Leon's this, because he's a smart man. He didn't become a billionaire by being an idiot. He's a smart man. Don't you think this tentative agreement, which is not set in stone, dependent on the General Assembly's approval, you got a Republican governor, Democrat House and Senate. Don't you think Ted Leon's is using this to where, and I'm even reading on some of these reports.
He's trying to negotiate with DC.
Yeah, he's going to get a better deal out of DC from this.
Because they don't want him to leave.
And guess what DC gets that we don't get? More federal money. They're a federal, province, the district. So maybe the federal government steps in and, well, we can't lose this. This brings people and helps tourism. So what this may be is that once again, we're the date that entices you to, get your shit straight. And so you go back to your old woman because, look,
we're going to the prom with you.
Let me tell you what just happened. I just tried really hard to find something nice for Bill to talk about Governor Youngkin.
And he slammed him.
And it didn't quite go that way.
He absolutely slammed him. You did try.
I tried.
We even talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
I know it's a challenge. I do have a question for Bill when he gets back, but while we're waiting on him, tell us what's going on in the racing world.
In which racing world?
Well, let's start with modifieds.
Well, off season, I will tell you that we had our Sadler Stanley Racing modifieds in the wind tunnel this week. It's a wind tunnel called Aerodyne down in North Carolina. We were in the wind tunnel trying to find a little extra speed, balance, downforce, all that. I'll show you a picture there, but
oh wow!
I know.
Did you go to that?
Yep,
that's cool. I honestly didn't know that you would have that kind of testing, that kind of technology.
Yeah,
on that level racing. That's
very exciting. So we've been in the wind tunnel, and we're working.
I'm sure Senator doesn't even know about that. So
look at this picture.
Yeah, smoking. We're not paying for it like with a wreck. He's showing pictures of us in the wind tunnel. We've got our machines in the wind tunnel. So I'm glad you got off the stadium talk because I could talk another 20 minutes. About
I said I'm gonna let Bill set Bill up so he can talk nicely about Glenn Youngkin and There it is.
But I do have one question.
Remember, though, it's may move to Virginia.
I do
now,
have one
will
question.
move to Virginia. And D.C. and the Capitol Arena there, Capital One Arena, they will come back with a package that beats us once again. That's what happened in Maryland with the Redskins. That's what's going to happen here again with the Caps and the Mystics and the Wizards.
You said that you thought, and you don't know this, but the state of Virginia may own that land.
Yeah.
Question. Would that be a arm of the state of Virginia that would own it, or could the Commonwealth itself possibly own it? I know, like on the town level, the municipality itself tried not to own investment properties and that type of thing. It would have gone through the IDA or Economic Development Association or Community Development instead of the town itself. Does the state have arms of
and here we are talking about it. Here comes on Fox News TV, and the subtitles are rising crime and businesses leaving in DC is part of the move. And so now you see even the DC mayor submitting a $500 million modernization plan for the Capital One Arena, where the Caps and the Wizards
want to revitalize it.
Well, yeah, but how do you revitalize the crime and the criminal behavior? How do you stop people?
You send Rudy Giuliani in like he did in New York and clean it up.
But again, the Mayor Bowser, a very left-leaning, defund the police.
It ain't gonna happen.
She's never going to do that.
No, ever.
I mean, she's just saying that's a part of what's happened. I remember, look, I grew up in Northern Virginia. You could walk through Washington, D.C. streets 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Not a problem.
Here's Louise's quote.
Away. All right. Louise Lucas says, while some people want sports stadiums, I want tolls to disappear from Hampton Roads, and I want recreational sale of marijuana. Guess we will have to find middle ground on that. You go, Louise. Louise. See, it ain't going to be easy. There's no
Hermie's
guarantee.
buddy.
No,
So,
there's
get back
no guarantee.
We're not talking about racing anymore. That was a quick little hit.
No, we're going to come back to
Well, it
racing.
came back. But answer my question. Would the Commonwealth itself be able to own land like that? Or does the Commonwealth have authorities like a CDA or economic development type thing? Does the state level have that would handle that type of property?
So chances are, and this is what I recall from when Doug Wilder tried to basically lease it to the Washington Redskins, who were the Redskins at the time. And now the governor would not be involved if there wasn't some ownership of basically that area. And that's called Potomac Yard. And Potomac Yard is an old rail station, an old rail transfer station. And it's in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And because it's dealing with railroads and railways, there may be some easements to your Norfolk Southerns and your NSXs, but really, ultimately, it is probably under the ownership of Virginia. Otherwise, the governor could not be making such offers.
Right.
So it's not an agency; it's the government. It's actually the Commonwealth of Virginia that owns this thing, and so that's why we can wheel and deal and offer these great things. But there's Louise Lucas on Twitter. She wants tolls off the roads in Hampton Roads, and she wants some weed, and that's her priority. So you're going to find that this is going to be a partisan issue.
She's a Democrat.
Yes. But remember, Dick Saslaw was the one from Northern Virginia proposing this before. All the delegates and senators from the area of the rail yard are Democrats. This would help economically, like they need more help in Northern Virginia, that area. They're Democrats. But then you've got Democrats south of the James River, like Louise Lucas, who are saying, wait a minute,
we don't want
we have different priorities. And you know what's going to even taint it even more in a Democrat-controlled House and Senate? Governor Youngkin wants it. And that's where you're going to see this partisanship, where they don't want to give each other victories. He's going to pull out the veto pen when they want a victory. They're not going to advance legislation when he wants a victory. We may have a stalemate here, and this may be a political football. What I really hope, though, Herm, is that we don't turn skill games and small businesses into a partisan issue, and that's what my fear is. This may be a foretelling of what may come to a political stalemate during the 2024 General Assembly session here in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Can Youngkin do that by executive order?
No. Hell no.
Because of the money.
Yeah.
Because of the money.
Just like in Congress and only the House of Delegates and the Senate can appropriate money. He can accept, reject, amend, but he doesn't get. Now, we sometimes give him money to appropriate, but again, we've appropriated his appropriation, if that makes sense. So this is going to be a knockdown, drag out fight. That's what I saw. Everybody's like, hey, man, the Wizards are coming. The Capitals are coming. No, they're not. No, they're not.
I wonder why he would pick this. I wonder why he would pick this battle now. Because he's got to know it's got to be an uphill battle.
Great question. Why would he do that after the November election?
Because he can package it as, I'm trying to do this, but they don't want the economic development. They don't want, the free market and investment, all that. He wants to give them something that the newspapers will pick up, sports team coming to Virginia, so he can say to, in this instance, Louise Lucas and others, this is what I tried to do. This is what I'm working with. And I hope y'all consider that next time y'all go to the polls in 2 years, which this will still be going on in 2 years, probably.
Oh, sure. And this is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on national news tonight. This is a national issue. He is now paired himself with bringing sports to Virginia, which is what all Virginians really want. We want Virginia sports teams. The problem is they're not going to call them the Virginia Wizards or the Arlington or Potomac Yard Wizards or the Arlington Capitals. They're going to still call them the Washington Capitals, just like they called the Washington Redskins when their football stadium was in Landover, Maryland.
And
you ain't going to get a real team. It's just location.
I'm not
but it's a big win, and it's a big splash, especially after he lost the state house races this November.
I'm not saying this is what happened here.
It's a brilliant move on his part.
I'm not saying this is what happening here. I just don't think it'll work. I'm not saying this is what is happening here, but sometimes people put something out there that they know will get attention or maybe get knocked off in an effort to get some of the underlying things below it done in a negotiation. So
correct. Kill the big bird, allow the small birds to thrive, right?
That's right?
No, that's a very good point. And that's part of the strategy. Distract with the big and get some of the things over the line, or use it as a negotiating tool. The problem is, look, Virginia, let's be honest, Virginia's getting used. Ted Leonsis is using this to see if he can get a better deal out of Washington, D.C.
Sure.
And if Washington, D.C. gives him a better deal, he's going to take it. And so that puts pressure on us in the General Assembly to give him a better deal if we really want the thing for Northern Virginia. And I'm telling you, outside of Stafford County, if you drew a line across the northern part of Virginia, south, we could give two craps about this. I mean, it doesn't make it any easier for me to go see a Caps game.
Not creating any jobs in your district.
Not helping us, but our tax money and the value of that tax money is less because it's going to them.
Brought up a good point. Not exactly with what you said, but it certainly made me think of it. After a disappointing election cycle this past November, it's probably been difficult for Youngkin's administration to find a positive narrative to get him on TV and things like that too. So
Sure. Exactly right. Hey, look, this is a big win. He's on national TV, like I just said. I mean, this is big. He lured these three professional sports teams south of DC. He's also highlighting, why are they moving? What was the title underneath the story? Teams moving because high rate of crime and businesses moving out of DC. Okay. So that's a win for him. He's sucking something out of the woke left Democrat cities into, even though it's woke left Northern Virginia, it's still Virginia and he's a Republican governor. But that may be its undoing, because you think Louise Lucas wants recreational marijuana. She wants no tolls. Now, maybe what she just said in that tweet that we read on the TV screen is that that's the trade-off. Because do you think Governor Youngkin's going to give her recreational marijuana if there was no football deal? Hockey and basketball deal? But he may be willing to say, okay, Louise,
and look,
most powerful person in the Senate, Louise Lucas. And she says, I want these things. And if you want your fancy sports stadium where I don't live, because she doesn't live anywhere near Northern Virginia, then you better give me these things. And that is the swap shop of politics at the state level. So stay tuned. This is going to be an exciting issue to keep talking about, because the devil will be in the details when you see that bill. And we'll bring it right here to you on this podcast.
Because look, she's on national TV too.
Oh, hell yeah, she is.
I mean, her quote was on right behind Youngkin.
Yeah.
And that tells you a lot.
It's talking about
for her quote to be right behind his goes exactly to what
it's just a little bit not funny, but we're talking about an NBA team, an NHL team, a development complex, weed.
Yep. Where are our priorities here in Virginia? Well, quite frankly, it's recreational marijuana.
Yeah.
So,
And they'll probably put a casino right beside it.
well, of course, dude, I'm telling you, you get that multi-use complex. That's when Northern Virginia might say, hey, we need a Sands, or, we need a Hard Rock Cafe right out there. And all of a sudden, Northern Virginia has turned away the casinos, as we've talked about before, because they're oogie, they're scuzzy, just like to Janet Howell, these skill games were in these convenience stores and restaurants and bars. But now, when you've got this sports complex and you've got these people flying in,
Looks a little more attractive.
landing at National Airport, and you've got the casino across the way in Maryland, across the Potomac, why not have one there? Makes more sense. More glitzy people, because remember, the casinos are for the rich. They're not for the people like you and me, not the everyman citizen of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And that's, man, this is going to be an exciting topic. I'm going to tell you. Can you see it already?
Casinos make some commitments financially to help get this deal done.
They may do it, but they sent us an embargo,
as far as a commitment,
confidential information in leadership. I got the packet, and I looked at it, I was like, and I mean, it was like a 30-page deck of stuff, pictures of what it looked like. And about 9 pages in, I just started flipping through. I was like, here we go again. Cash subsidies for corporations, welfare for the billionaire. I mean, it's going to be something to behold, and we're going to have to deal with it. And that's what's coming up. Now, let's go back to racing. I'm sorry, dude.
Hi, folks. This is Hermie Sadler. Thanks for listening to our all-new podcast, Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I hope you are enjoying the show as much as Senator Stanley and I enjoy bringing it to you. Whether you're a family traveling together or a truck driver hauling freight up and down the highway, I hope you will take the time to visit one of our Sadler Travel Plaza locations in Virginia and North Carolina. Sadler Travel Plaza locations are licensed dealer locations for Pilot Travel Centers, and we also carry Shell Motiva petroleum products for our four-wheel friends. We pride ourselves on providing one-stop shopping for service, food, and entertainment. Our food options include Five Guys Burgers and Fries, Quiznos, Dairy Queen, Hermie Sadler's Faux Show Bar and Grille, Victory Lane Restaurant, Hunt Brothers Pizza, Dunkin' Donuts, and much, much more. Our locations include Sadler Travel Plaza in South Hill, located off I-85 at exit 12. The Sadler Travel Plaza of Emporia, which is conveniently located on exit 11B off I-95, and Sadler Travel Plaza on Highway 58 in Suffolk. We also have our North Carolina location, Sadler Travel Plaza in Dunn, North Carolina. That's exit 75 off I-95. We appreciate all of our customers, and Bill and I appreciate you listening to Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace O Matic.
Hey, this is Bill Stanley, Hermie Sadler's sidekick on this podcast. When I'm not in Richmond at the Capitol or doing this podcast, my real job for the past 27 years is as a trial attorney with the Stanley Law Group. Here at the Stanley Law Group, we represent our clients in every courthouse in the Commonwealth. No problem is too small for us to solve. No case is too big for us to win. Whether it's criminal charges, traffic offenses, civil disputes, litigation matters of any sort, we handle it all. We make sure that we treat every client like family because they are to us. Your problem is our problem. Your success is our success because we hate to lose more than we love to win. And believe me, we win a lot. Don't believe me? Go ask Hermie. I'm his favorite lawyer, and he hates lawyers. So give us a call at 540-721-6028 and let us help you. Or visit our website at www.vastanleylawgroup.com. That's www.vastanleylawgroup.com. At the Stanley Law Group, we'll make sure we're the lawyers that you swear by and not at.
I was finished my racing report.
Well, I was in the bathroom. I missed it.
It was very short. We went to the wind tunnel this week. That wraps it up.
Now, wait a second.
Back to you, Bob.
Now, we're making some big changes. I mean,
I don't know what we're doing yet.
We're making some big changes on the engine.
Yet. Nothing to report.
We're making some big changes.
Nothing to report.
Nothing.
We're going to make some big changes.
Nothing to report. We're making some. See, that's the wrong use of terminology. We're making improvements.
Okay. But I mean, you and I kind of,
changes. It seems like you're throwing shit up against the wall.
Now we're talking about racing here. At least it's still sports.
We're making improvements.
I get that, but you and I have always had a kind of philosophy about this race team, and I think we're getting closer to seeing that come to fruition by some of the things we're talking about doing. Right?
I can't wait to hear this.
I don't have anything to report.
You know?
No. How about
How about next week?
negotiations
Now, wait a minute.
of our title sponsor to continue on the podcast? What can you tell us?
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Actually, we still own
What else can we talk about?
See, the thing is, we've taken a couple of weeks off here and there. They get to go into the next year before we have to renew. But we're in a positive direction there.
Okay, good. Good.
How are we on the sponsorship with our sponsor on the race team?
Looking good.
Got anything to report?
Nothing to report.
Damn,
Looking good.
Driver
lineup.
Driver lineup looking great.
Looking good.
All right. We got something to report?
Hey, I tell you what.
Got something to report?
I'll handle it. Don't worry about it.
I couldn't wait for this.
I promise you, when we get to Florence, the first race of 2024,
You'll be
know
ready.
what we're doing.
we'll have 2 cars on the track and 2 drivers. That I can report.
Yeah, I can't say that.
When is
about
that?
the
April?
podcast.
March.
Beginning of March. And then we got
We'll
March
have
23rd.
2 cars on the track, and we'll have a warm-blooded person driving one car and a totally different person driving the second car.
No cold-blooded.
Are you potentially one of them?
Now I can report that is not true.
Okay, that's not.
I petitioned Chris Williams to enlarge the size of the driver opening in his modified.
He
tour,
wouldn't do it.
and it fell on deaf ears. So it'll have to be somebody that fits the template better than I do.
Dude, I've got this solved. What you got to do is you just cut a hole in the top, and you get one of them helicopters, usually in California, that picks up the horses out of the valley when there's a fire,
Drop him right in.
and puts them in a harness and and just gets over that thing and drops them right in. Problem solved. Now, as the lawyer for the Smart Series,
the series.
you
represent
Southern Modified
the Smart
Auto Racing
Modified Tour.
Teams series.
Okay.
I'm their lawyer. We've got exciting things to report. We talked about
Do
the
we?
schedule. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Have you fixed the braking issue with the rules?
Braking issue.
Is it the brakes? What is it? The guy
traction-
doing
traction
traction control.
I got nothing to report.
You want me to keep asking questions?
Did y'all change the rules on the amount of times somebody can be threatened to be suspended before they get suspended for breaking the rules?
Yes.
Okay, we did do that. Okay.
How did it change?
I can't tell you.
Because basically there were basically 9 infractions last year, and one person was responsible for 8 of them.
That falls under attorney-client privilege.
with no penalties.
Well, you don't know that, but I can't tell you if there was or there
A
was.
lot of threats,
I'm not
And a
at
lot
liberty
of-
to disclose.
a lot of carefully written press releases
But
that really say nothing.
I'm going to tell you right now, March
Were you
23rd.
involved with writing those on behalf as far as representing the series?
Well, my computer was utilized in the process. How's that?
So you've got to write a bull press release, really, against the team that you partially own.
I think it's a conflict of interest for you to represent us and represent
I think there. What I can tell you is, I think there's some big news coming out on the sponsorship. There's going to strengthen. That's going to strengthen
the series.
Smart
Oh,
Series.
Now all of a sudden he can report.
And I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
no. I'm talking in generalities, and that the March 23rd race, the Saturday race, and that weekend is going to be one of the most colossal racing weekends.
That's at
on
South
the East
Boston,
Coast.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the King of the Modified race. We're talking about big
Any
giant
news to
purses.
report on the ownership group coming in trying to buy South Boston Speedway?
Hold on. We're going to have big giant purses on March 23rd. We're going to have, 60 cars coming down there. And
Who is
competing.
we?
We, the series.
Oh,
I don't want to get, I'm talking to major corporations now that want to be a part of this.
you're talking
With major sponsorship.
Do you
major
have that kind
money.
of skill set to negotiate those deals?
I've been a lawyer for 30 freaking years, dude. I think I can do this.
Okay.
2000.
That was a little bit pissed offishness.
29 years.
You're
of
questioning him.
lawyer. Yeah.
Pissed offishness.
Don't you question my authority. But ultimately, that race is going to be huge. Here's where I think it's really important, because when we talk about skill games, I think we have momentum going in the General Assembly. I'm a little more concerned than I probably was before. I think, probably on the House side, there's a lot of work that can be done. I think the Senate side's a little better, especially with Louise, the most powerful
Sadler.
woman. Wonderful, beautiful, fantastic, smart, brilliant woman who actually will be leading the charge to legalize skill games in Virginia. But, we've got some work to do. But it seems to me that the March 23rd race at South Boston, only an hour south of Richmond, 2 weeks after we adjourn from our regular session and 2 weeks before we go into the veto session, might be a perfect time for us to celebrate a big win for skill games right there in South Boston with the biggest crowd. I'm working on right now. So I can't tell you a major recording artist to come and play a concert there and sing the national anthem. I'm doing that.
Oh, that's great. My antenna just went up.
Do you know who it is?
How the hell would I know?
I can't tell you right now.
No.
My antenna just went up. So you said you were concerned about maybe the house.
The house.
As it relates to skill games.
Yes.
You have previously said that you feel like there's a 90% chance that skill game legislation gets done in the next session. I said 40. So are you still at 90?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, 80.
So you're not still at 90?
Well, no, the casino's penetrating. I mean, look, they said this is an all-out war.
Yeah.
They are going to
politics.
fight. I know, me too. But
Jesus Christ.
And the problem is that people's principles change when the wind blows a different direction.
Well, when we were coming in tonight.
But what we've got is probably the best chance ever that we've ever had to get tax and regulation for the operation of skill games in small businesses in Virginia, the things that we've been fighting for years. We've probably got the best chance for it to happen. But is that a given? No. Are you up against a big, giant, 5,000-pound, gorilla? Yes, that's called the casinos. Is it going to take some effort? Yes. Is it going to take some moving the chess pieces across the board and being very deft and fighting this big monster that's used to winning and eating its competition? Yes. We have an opportunity, though, to do it. So I'm still confident, but it's looking a little less stable. It's still stable, but not as stable as it was in the house. You've got 100 people there to fix, and the casinos are going after all the new people and trying to get them. And the problem, I think, Hermie, is if the bill comes out of the House or it's filed in the House, it goes to general laws. You know who's on general laws? Krizik, Barry Knight. All the people, there's like 4 people there that don't like skill games or want to put a moratorium on it. The very people we've been fighting before are going to sit on that committee. That's what we need to be concerned about. It may come from where that bill ends up, where it's directed to, what committee it's sent to. It may end up how it does in the Senate, how it comes out of the Senate, in what form. But we've got a big legislative fight on our hands that is going to also be clouded by this partisanship. I mean, do not doubt for a minute that this stadium legislation is going to be all tangled up in this skill game legislation as well as other partisan things. That's what's going to make 2024 General Assembly session so interesting. That's why the 3 of us will be there as color commentators to discuss it every day. You might even be there, Shep. We're trying to get you a job in the General Assembly.
I'm a free agent. When Hermie and I were coming in tonight into this beautiful gated apartment complex.
You made a left at the Bloodstain to get here, right?
Seriously. We did take a left and go through a little China alleyway is kind of what it looked like. But what I'm trying to get to, we saw like a 4x8 billboard on the side of a building that says skill games support this community. I have never in my travels seen a sign that says casinos support this community. To me, that's a huge difference in the 2 approaches between casinos and skill games.
Yeah, they don't. They only support the area.
Yeah, did we not see the sign, Hermie?
Yeah.
It's a true story.
But this whole conversation, it just reminds me of everything that I don't like about politics, because of all the things that you're talking about, for somebody like me, it's just so simple. Ethics.
Oh, that's right.
The free market system.
Sure.
And how many times we said on this podcast, the Republican creed of Virginia starts out with, we believe in the importance of the free market system.
And they ran
until the casinos come in and pay us to think otherwise. It's really sad.
Okay. Yeah. Like I used to joke, as a politician, I can't be bought, but I can be rented. Again, you'll be amazed at what will change the dynamic of that argument, and it won't have anything to do with skill game.
But Senator, we talk about stuff on this podcast to the 3 of us. It's just crystal clear. I mean, it's literally crystal clear in the direction we think things need to go. what the hell happened in the election? And how frustrating is it for you to be a member of the General Assembly in the Senate and have to fight this uphill battle when Ray Charles can see what's going on? I mean, what happened in the election?
Well, I think we made mistakes on messaging. We've talked about that. Hermie and I, while you were gone, talked about that in great detail. And I think what we have here is what we have here. What it shows is what Virginia really is. Do I think we would love to have the majority? Yeah. Do I think Virginia is completely split right down the middle? Yeah. Because what we have is 51-49 in the House, Democrat. 21-19, difference of one seat in the Senate. You've got a Republican governor and a Republican attorney general. This demonstrates that this is really what Virginia is. The Democrat majority comes from Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads, and Richmond. The rest is the rest of Virginia. If you look at the maps of every county, little pockets of blue, large swaths of red, guess what? Blue's in charge by one. Now, I think that will make for interesting things. I mean, you'll never have total domination, I think, of either party. But the party in power has, the person with the gold makes the rules, and they're going to make rules. And if they're going to want to send the governor out with a no legacy, this is the way to do it. If they're willing to put that all aside and say, let's do what's best for Virginia, we're going to get a lot of good things done. But none of them will be partisan on either side. And maybe that's how the voter likes it. That government cancels itself out is better government than it's one side or the other.
It might be true.
And that may be the way to go. So that's what we got. Now, look, we're talking about racing, and we're still this kind of sports, right? I heard, actually, Hermie put it up on
we really didn't
Twitter.
Get anything out of the racing discussion.
No, but he had
a lot of teases.
He had nothing
a lot of teases.
But I reported more than he did. So I want to play a tape that actually somebody put up on Twitter that kind of describes Hermie when he was racing in Grand National, right? And so Herm, you've heard this video recording. It's of a TV broadcast of a race. And you've got DW, was it Dick Trickle in there? Who you got?
It was not Dick Trickle. It was Darrell Waltrip, Mike Joey, and Buddy Baker.
Buddy Baker.
1994 at Rockingham, North Carolina.
So I saw this on the internet, and Hermie posted.
Somebody shared it to me, and then I retweeted it.
But, this reminds us of the young man, Hermie Sadler, when he was riding around in circles in NASCAR with, Virginia's for Lovers on your car? Is that the 25?
Virginia Division of Tourism was my sponsor.
So who were you running it for at the time?
Don Beverly Racing.
Okay. And how old were you?
Headquartered in Chester, Virginia. I was 24 years old.
Okay. What year would this have been?
I said 1994.
Okay. Well, I didn't listen. I don't listen to everything you say. So
that's mistake number one.
what
Bill, I've been trying for many years to get you on the path.
Okay. So what racetrack? What race?
Rockingham.
Okay. And were you rookie of the year by then?
The year before.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is your second year
full-time year
in NASCAR.
Yep.
And when I heard it, I had to listen to it over and over again. It was so cute. And you got to listen to it.
So exactly.
Cute. It's so cute. It's really cute. And so you got to listen to this. But I just wanted to play it for everybody. Just throw you back to 1995, right? you were at Wilkesboro, right? Play the tape. Let's listen to these guys talk about Hermie Sadler, the young driver in NASCAR.
It was a surprise pick for that seat in the Don Beverly car, but won a race, won Rookie of the Year.
Well, Mike, as you well know, I had dinner with these guys last night with Mom and Dad and with Hermie, and I tell you what nice people.
Oh, they are. He's a super young man, businessman, and pretty sharp. Anytime you can get the state to give you money, I think you got to know something. I've not figured out how to do that.
And there you go.
There you go. If you can get the state to give you money. So maybe, Hermie, what that tells me is...
don't worry, they've gotten plenty of it back over the years.
But I think you should go up there and help Glenn Youngkin and Ted Leonsis make that deal happen for the Wizards and the Capitals, because you can get the state to give you money.
Let me remind you of something, sir. I ran to be the Republican nominee
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
in the 17th district in the Commonwealth of Virginia because I think we were in trouble, and I think I could have helped the 17th Senate district and the Commonwealth of Virginia in a number of ways. And our governor chose to support my opponent. So this is probably not the right time or place to say that, but that is the truth. So
And you were encouraged to run.
I was.
He was by the very same people.
That's probably not the answer you wanted me to give. Just like I wasn't expecting you to bag on the Wizards coming to Virginia when I set the tee up nice and pretty for you to say something nice about our governor. But look,
I'm not saying negative about the governor.
I am pulling for our governor, and I'm pulling for our attorney general, and I'm pulling for our legislature
And our state.
to make good decisions because I don't benefit in any way as a resident, small business owner, or raising kids in the Commonwealth of Virginia if we struggle or don't get positive things done.
How'd you finish in that race?
I have no idea.
No, I'm talking about the one at Rockingham.
I don't remember. Well, actually, I finished second in the one you're talking about.
Oh, really?
I got a top 2 out of it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. In Rockingham.
No,
Oh, okay.
You're second ain't bad.
second ain't bad.
But isn't that cool? I
First
mean,
loser.
You know, you got DW sitting there talking with Dick Trickle, talking about how wonderful a guy you are, and they
Little
go out
trickle
and eat-
dick.
they go out and eat with your family and stuff. I mean, that's got to be pretty.
I'm
cool.
not sure where all the Dick Trickle mentions are coming from, but I got to tell you, DW is still around. And later, I never would have known at that time. You heard Darrell Waltrip say some nice and, as DW always is, a jokester. That was 94. I never would have guessed later in life I would spend 17 years doing Fox television with Darrell
him.
Waltrip.
Yeah,
I
how
never
cool
knew
is
that
that?
at the time.
So
Very
did you
cool.
know Buddy Baker really well?
Oh, yeah, Buddy was great.
Did you?
Buddy was great. Actually, before I started my full-time career, before I went from late model stock cars at South Boston and Orange County to my first full-time ride in 1993 with Don Beverly. So in the fall of 1992, I went to Rockingham and went to the Buck Baker Driving School, which is Buddy's dad. Buck Baker ran that school along with
Great NASCAR
Randy
talent
Baker.
himself.
So, and Buddy was involved a little bit, but it was Randy and Buck. So, Buddy, of course, I was close to Benny Parsons because I had room with Benny Parsons' son, Keith, at UNC.
Yep.
Right.
Benny Parsons was close with Buddy Baker. So when I went to the Buck Baker Driving School, Buddy and I were already familiar with each other. And I wish I could remember, Buddy mentioned in the broadcast that he ate supper with my family the night before the race. Because I don't remember that. I wish I did. Hit the wall too many times. But there used to be a place in Aberdeen called the Barn, like it was like a steakhouse, the Barn.
Yeah, the Aberdeen Barn.
Yeah. So that's where we always used to eat on the Friday night. So I'm sure that's where we ate. But Buddy Baker, from the time I stepped into the NASCAR arena in the Busch Grand National Series, Buddy Baker was a great supporter, friend, helper, encourager, all those kind of things, as was Darrell Waltrip. So to just listen to that 30-second clip and hear two Hall of Famers like them have kind things to say, it really makes me feel good.
And that's a video, and you can find it on Twitter, or formerly Twitter, X. I've retweeted it. I think Hermie, you have it up. It's fun to watch because it's
Is it on
race.
the podcast page?
Not yet, but we'll make sure we update that later. But it's nice to hear that and see the way old racing was, and it looked like you were in the lead because that camera was following you around. It looked like you're actually.
I don't
leading the
know.
race.
I know. I finished second there a couple times, but and at one time, Elliot and I finished 1-2 there. But Elliot hadn't started yet, so it wouldn't have been that particular one. But I don't remember.
Where were you in 1994, Shep?
1994, I was DJing full time.
Really?
Yes.
Like parties or for a radio station?
No parties.
Okay.
I never worked at a radio. I had the face for the radio, but I didn't have the voice for the radio.
1994, I was probably graduating from law school, getting ready to take the bar. So would that have been in the summertime, you think? Like during the OJ, remember, it was OJ preliminary hearing, OJ had committed murder.
Rockingham back in those days was the week after Daytona.
Okay,
So that would have been late February.
Yeah.
So I was in my last semester in law school.
So, Hermie, you talked about Benny Parsons, Darrell Waltrip. Did you have a good relationship with Dick Trickle? I mean, did you know him very well?
I did. I
Did
raced
you ever
against
have Dick Trickle?
You raced against Dick.
Yeah. Dick
Was he
drove-
fast or did he just
you ever
trickle
beat
along
Dick?
the track?
Have you ever beat Dick?
Are we having a? I mean, what are we doing?
I'm just
What are we
asking.
doing?
Was he fast or did he just trickle around? It's a legitimate question.
Did you ever get in
That
front
was-
of the Dick? I mean, Dick Trickle. Trickle, I mean.
Did he have a trickle on you?
This is more fun when we're talking about Shep not being able to keep a fucking job.
Maybe for you, it's not. But for
See
us,
how it turns around?
it's freaking hilarious.
now all of a sudden. Now all of
Mr.
a
Serious, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
mm.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, I think this is probably the time we should wrap this up. Let's go get some dinner, boys, and we're gonna.
Hey, can I say one other? I did want to say
you
one
can,
thing
Mr. Serious. You can
about-
say anything you freaking
about Dick
want.
Trickle.
Oh,
Dick-
okay.
Your good friend, Dick
When I
Trickle.
would race against him, this part is serious. Great short track racer, but when I was racing against him in the Busch Series, Dick smoked one cigarette after the next. He would always have them taped inside the car. And Elliot and I used to laugh when you're racing against Dick, you never had to watch the flagman to know when you were under caution when it was one to go. Because if you were behind Dick, he would always flick his cigarette out the window when it was one to go.
Oh, wow.
So he had a cigarette lighter and he'd
In
light
his
a
car.
cigarette in the car and he'd light them up and puff.
Like
and
one
then,
of the old coil ones.
yeah,
you pull it
yeah.
out.
They had it wired into his car.
And
He's
that
like-
wasn't against the rules.
he says, use my battery. Forget about my brake cooling system. Forget about my helmet air conditioning system. Just make sure my lighter works. But he would pull a cigarette, and then we'd always laugh when it was one to go. He'd flick the butt out the window.
Is that all he ever flicked out the window?
I don't know.
Just a butt?
So you'd know that you're coming around the green next.
Yeah, just watching the
That's pretty cool.
side window.
That, what a great story that was.
That was cool.
Wow.
He just
I
pulled
mean,
it right out of
Yeah, for Hermie to pull a Dick story out of his pants like that, I think was really big. This is, we got to end this.
He just pulled it right out of his didn't
Yeah,
he?
he pulled the Dick story out. Right. All right. He's not even paying attention to it anymore.
Take us home, Hermie.
All right. Well, no, actually, I am going to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to this crazy episode. We're all back. We're all back together, and this is great. Shep Moss is back. And we
I
hope
may be
now-
available all the time
Yeah,
now.
you've got a lot of time now to be back on this podcast. You're looking great. Sounding great. It's great to giggle
if
with
any
you.
listeners are hiring,
Yeah,
just
obviously, Hermie loves it
contact
when we
you.
make fun of him and giggle about it because it's really working well by the look on his
yeah,
face.
yeah, he looks so.
Don't worry, Herm. I'm going to go
Thrilled
buy you a
right now.
nice steak now. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to us or find us on www.lrtl.com, our new website. You can get all the past episodes, find out all the goings on with the three of us here. We're on social media. Senator. That's our handle on Twitter or X. You can find us on Leaning Right, Turning Left podcast on Facebook. Drop us a line. Tell us how we're doing. Give us a 5-star review on all the major platforms where you can listen to our show. And also go back and listen to some of the great episodes we had in the past. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to have Christmas episodes, but we're going to do like opening gifts. We're going to replay some of those great, awesome podcast interviews that we've done with other people. But it's great to have you back, Shep. Thanks for coming, bud.
Are you saying we're going to do a rerun?
We might do a rerun. 'Cause I
You
don't
know, last year
how
this
long we can
time-
do this for the time.
Last year, this time we were doing the weight loss challenge.
And
we never reported.
Now Ozempic boy is all back into it, isn't he?
But am I right?
maybe
Wasn't it
we'll-
about this time?
It-
Going into the
What'd
holiday?
you call him?
Ozempic boy. He's the Jardiance chick. He's the fat chick that says, Jardiance is it me to be?
I'm feeling better every day.
Are you saying that we can't at least even remotely do another podcast to close things out the proper way for our sponsor, Pace O
Just
Matic?
setting up. Maybe we'll do one with a throwback. We'll do like the front end and then we'll throw back an interview. How's that? How about that?
What
How
is-
about that?
I mean, what's the problem?
Fine. Okay.
People can go back and listen to old podcasts without us replaying them in a new podcast.
Okay, but sometimes we. Okay, never mind. We'll have this.
See how it feels?
I mean, who's running this ship?
Clearly not me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley. I'm leaning right and I'm hungry.
And I'm Dick Trickle.
Down your leg.
God bless Dick Trickle. He's dead and gone, but let's just go ahead and dedicate this podcast to the life and the memory of the Dick Trickle,
Dick Trickle. Amen, brother. I'm with you.
who the night before each race would say he would drink a 6-pack of beer for every 100 miles of the race he was going to run the following day, the night before.
So that
Oh,
would be
wow.
like 30 beers for a 500.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
He's like Plugmore.
He could do that.
Dick was the man.
Well, we dedicate this show, this
He was some
episode,
kind of dick.
to Dick Trickle. And amen, brother. I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
And we got our man,
Shep Moss.
Can we tell everybody Merry Christmas?
Well, we're
after all that, after all the dickness.
Merry Christmas coming up. We've got another episode next week, but I hope everybody's having a good holiday so far, getting together with their family, having a good time.
Hey, speaking of Dick Trickle, you know why Santa doesn't have any kids?
Why?
He only comes once a year, and that's down a chimney.
Yeah.
So that goes back to the Dick Trickle
Well
reference.
done. All right, now we're doing juvenile jokes. Okay, I'm going to do this again. I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
Hermie Sadler, turning left, leaning right and turning left with Sadler and the Senator
And Shep Moss.
is probably not this week proudly sponsored by Pace O Matic, but we appreciate Pace O Matic and all they do for us, the podcast, the race team, and small businesses all across the Commonwealth of Virginia. Thank y'all very much. Shep, any parting words?
Is Manscaped still on the show?
No.
It's
But I have all the products in my bathroom. So if you need
You've got the
something,
Weed Eater 5.0.
I got it all. It's working beautiful.
What if the promo code Sadler still works?
Sadler.
I bet it does.
20%.
Because I'm running out of shampoo and conditioner. I need some more. I'm going to put Sadler.
Well, I'm just saying it's Christmas time. You can get your jollies in good shape.
You go from Dick Trickle to shaving
Trimming your jollies.
your jingle bells. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk next time. We'll
You
see
gotta
you next
close
time.
again.
I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
Out the door.
See y'all next week, maybe.
Who are you?
I said it 12 times.
Who are? Well, you
They
think
got
you were
it.
Dick Trickle last time.
They got it. They got it.
Are you sure?
They got it.
That's Hermie Sadler. He's turning left. That's Shep Moss. He's back. We'll see you next week, everybody. God bless you all.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson with SaveWithConrad.com. You've heard me bragging on the podcast for years about helping people save money on their current house, but did you know that I can help you with your next house as well? That's right, we can get you into your next house with zero down. No money down loan programs are still available, and I know it sounds too good to be true, but we can do it for you. And by the way, home ownership is more affordable than you might think. We routinely turn renters into homeowners, and we hear back that their new house payment is more affordable than what they were paying in rent. Why would you keep doing that? Stop throwing your money away, paying for someone else's mortgage, and start building wealth for your family. And let my family help at SaveWithConrad.com. You don't need perfect credit to do this. We can improve credit scores down to the 500s, and it's worth mentioning, we never say no. We say not yet, but here's how. You need a game plan to buy a house, and that's where we come in at SaveWithConrad.com. We'll ask you, what down payment do you want to make? And zero is an acceptable answer. And what monthly payment do you want? And then it's time to go shopping. Find out how easy it is and how affordable it is to become a homeowner at SaveWithConrad.com.